Hey there, hi there, hello there Disney fans, and welcome to another Disneyland Paris show. I'm your host, Lucy Rain.
I'm Chris Fletcher.
Hello children, I'm Hugh Rain.
Today we're going to be discussing how planning your Disneyland Paris trip will feel a little different in 2020. But first, the news.
And now, Disneyland Paris News. Annual pass holders can now reserve their privilege tickets online.
Pueblo Trading Post has reopened, offering socially distanced pin trading and a selection of Thunder Mesa books and merchandise.
Woody and Jessie are now doing socially distanced meets outside Hotel Cheyenne until 10 p.m. at night. Wow. So that's it, guys. Quite like Newsweek. There's lots of construction going on. Lots of repainting, redashing. They're getting a crack on with Hotel New York, but...
And it sounds like Pueblo Trading Post has got my book as well.
It does. I said to Hugh in the car today, we're in a rush to go opening weekend, but everything that we really wanted to do seems to have cropped up this week. Like, I've been desperate to do some pin trading. January there wasn't any, because quite often they're outside boards and the weather was just dreadful. So I think where the boards had been, they just kept whipping them away. And then I went this time, there was no pin trading, so I just think they hadn't sorted it out yet. And then your book appeared, because that was one thing we wanted to do, was your book.
Yeah, well, Chris wanted us to pick a book up for him while we were there. 2 books, we got one of them.
And the one we didn't manage to get was the book about Phantom Manor, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, when I mentioned to Laura that, because I was supposed to be coming to you today, but obviously lockdowns stopped that from happening. But when I told her I was coming over and I was going to be picking up the book and paying for it, she was okay about the £20. I think if I'd said it was 40, then I might have got into a little bit of trouble. So it's probably good that we're spacing this out.
Just to make it clear, we do live in the same house, but just the way the house has been built, both sides of it straddle 2 different councils. Yeah. So the council that's had the restrictions tightened, which is Kirklees, is our side of the house.
Yeah.
And the Wakefield, was it Leeds Council?
It's Wakefield, yeah, it's Wakefield.
The Wakefield Council, you're fine, but that falls through the middle of the house. So that, just clear that up with people who thought like we didn't live together.
And what makes it even more strange is that currently the way the restrictions are, from what I understand, you guys could have come to my side of the house and we could have recorded, but all the equipment's on your side of the house, so it's not really an option. So unfortunately, we're just stuck like this on opposite sides of the house again.
That's just how it is at 37 Disney Street.
It's Billy bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
It's goofy.
So yeah, I'm a bit gutted that I didn't get to do my pin trading, because it looks all set up and ready and there's a massive board and they've got it behind a wall, so you do that. So that's a bit disappointing. And the other thing, of course, is that they're really ramping up the spontaneous meets and greets. So I think Aurora and Philip have been frequently on the inside balcony of the castle when it's raining and stuff like that. And Woody and Jessie, like we've just said, are over at Hotel Cheyenne, and they've been doing these random cavalcades down the streets, which we didn't manage to see, did we?
No, we didn't. We didn't catch any of them.
They sound pretty cool, though. I think they sound good. I'm not so bothered about Aurora, I'll be honest.
It's like a flash mob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aurora's, I'm not a big Aurora fan or anything, but I think having these characters in situ, like that is her castle, and for her just to be wandering around it, I find that quite exciting.
I suppose it is quite nice. Yes, I'll give you that. I just, I don't understand. I was speaking to one of Lucas's friends says that Aurora is the boss of the princesses, and I don't understand how that happens. I don't know who made her the boss.
I think Luke's little friend made her the boss. I've never heard that. Have you?
I think of Cinderella as the boss.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think Snow White's been the boss because she's like the first one.
She's only 14 now.
And I don't think she's assertive enough, to be honest. I don't think she'd get along. There'd be a coup
experience
within minutes if she was ever in
Well, if you're
charge.
talking natural born leader, I think Jasmine would be the leader.
Could well be Jasmine, yeah.
This is a whole other show, isn't it? Ranking the princesses by assertiveness.
Or business acumen.
Yeah. Right, so this is the topic of our show today, guys. You are planning... I'm just going to turn a page. Are you ready? You are planning a trip in 2020. Maybe you've planned trips before to Disneyland
She always
Paris.
announces it.
Well, I don't want it to just be...
Just do it quietly.
I can't do it quietly, though, and then you two frown at me, so I have to make a bit of an ordeal of it.
I'm just going to have a drink.
So I was going to scratch my head.
So you've got a trip coming up and you're trying to plan it. Maybe you've planned a trip before, or maybe you've started to plan this trip in 2019 when the world was a very different place. But all of a sudden, planning a Disneyland Paris trip is like it's never been before. Well, we're here to help. Now, partly because this means we can scrub out a lot of things that we've said before, because we do kind of... paint ourselves to be a Disneyland Paris planning podcast. However, most of the advice we've ever given you is no longer relevant. So this is basically our do-over show. So how is life different? We're going to split it into 6 categories: booking, travelling, packing, staying, dining and touring. And we're just going to have a little bit of a chat through those 6 bits and see how life has changed.
Cool.
So... Chris, I think you're starting us off with how booking your trip is different.
Well, I'm going to try, yeah. I mean, really, I think a lot of the same things are going to come across all of these categories in that everything should be done with an air of caution. So first off, I would say a lot of people book using lots of different... estate agents? No, that's not the word I'm looking for, is it? Travel agencies. Some are reputable, some aren't. But people always have problems with that sort of stuff, don't they? You hear about it all the time. So I guess now more than ever, it's important to make sure you're using someone who's trusted and probably going direct where possible, because if things go south, you're probably going to be in a much better position if you've booked direct than if you haven't.
Yeah.
I would suggest.
I think now is the time to be reading the small print. I do know that Disneyland Paris have introduced a no quibble cancellation policy, which they didn't used to have. So I presume it's a lot easier and financially viable to cancel than it used to be. So yeah, that's the first thing we've got to take into consideration.
And I guess the other things with booking, it comes into a lot of these other categories. Like, we've got restriction on the number of people who can go in the park. We've got a lot less rooms available in the hotels at the moment. So, if you're looking for that dream stay in Sequoia at the moment, you're not going to get it. You've got to think a bit more about where you're going to go and what you're going to do. Sorry, Hugh's just trying to clean the camera on Zoom and inadvertently made it a lot worse.
I've made it better now. I licked my finger first.
There's also things like is there another spike? Is there a spike going to come? Is there going to be a second wave? So, and we know, or we think, that this is a seasonal bug. So, the winter time's going to be quite a key time to consider, I think, as well.
I'm looking on the Disneyland Paris website now, and it does say modification and cancellation without fees. Now, that is entirely new. So if you are worried about for these reasons, because none of us know what's going to happen, if you are worried about booking a Disneyland Paris holiday, you are able to change your dates or cancel and get all your money back. So that's a big weight off. Obviously, you then need to look into the small print, as Chris has just said, for your transport. Your insurance is excluded in this, so if you're paying out extra for insurance, you won't get that back. Maybe you need to look at where you get your insurance and what that covers. etc. And interesting you mentioned Sequoia Lodge, because Sequoia Lodge and Davy Crockett Ranch currently have no dates for reopening. So that's going to be different when you're booking, is that those two options are off the table.
We just went away this weekend, and for the first time ever, we paid a little bit extra for cancellation insurance.
Interesting. That's exactly it, isn't it? It's considering things like that. I mean, we haven't taken out. Actually, I probably have got a travel insurance policy, but I know, for instance, that the boys aren't covered in the standard policy that I have. But it's never been something that I've considered or been concerned about before. But now, I'm a lot more conscious of the fact that might come in and I might need to use it. You know.
Do you know? We said we'd booked we'd got a BA flight that was honoured by Iberia that we booked through Flight Network, and we were like, we dealt with the call centre a bit, and we were very sketchy about whether we were going to get that money back or not.
Yeah.
It came a few days ago, didn't it?
I know.
Lucy got a notification and she just went, "What? I've just been paid a certain amount of money into my account," and I said,
a big amount of money.
Yeah, and I was like, it'll be that money that we didn't think we were going to ever see again.
Yeah.
But in the future, because it was such an ordeal getting through to them, and the reference number they've given us hadn't worked, we're just going to go straight to the source, aren't we?
That's one thing I learnt from that. Now, this is for long haul flights, but I think it's a lesson I've learnt for everything, is I am always going to book direct with the airline from now on, because it just makes it so much simpler. And I always do I'm our family travel agent, but I always book in bits.
And the videographer.
Yeah, I always book in bits, but I always book direct with Eurostar, and I always book direct with Disney. I've never booked Eurostar through Disney or anything like that. I always kind of do all the parts myself, but it is making me a bit more cautious and read the fine print a little bit more. So a few other things. Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, I was just going to say the big thing that I would say about all of this at the moment is to go in realistically. Now more than ever, there's the chances that your plans are going to change, and that it's going to be out of your control that they do change. Now, if you let that get you down, if you worry about it, either you won't bother booking and you won't bother going on holiday, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to go, you just got to be open to the fact that that's likely to happen. We're going to talk about travel in a minute, but a lot of the different ways that we can get to Disney, there are things in place now so that just like Disney is saying, if the plans change, you can move it for no fee. You can make changes for no fees on like P&O, for instance, if you're going by ferry, if something happens. So there's plenty of opportunities and ways, because at the end of the day, yes, these different companies need to make their money out of you, and so in some respects they're going to be more restricting, but at the same time they need to make their money out of you, so they're going to have to be accommodating to this whole situation as well. It's a lot of give and take, I think, in any of this situation now. There
is. A few more specifics that people need to know if they are booking it this year. If you've already booked and you've booked for Sequoia or Davy Crockett, as I said, neither of them have got reopening dates yet. We were booked at Sequoia Lodge, and so were some friends of ours, and we were just going to sit and wait until they contacted us or moved us. But then we heard on the grapevine that people had rung up about it, and there'd been no more rooms left at Newport Bay, and so they were downgrading them, or they were asking them to pay an upcharge to get to Disneyland Hotel, and so on and so forth. So our friends rang, and they were saying these rooms are booking up really quickly. You do need to know as soon as possible. So we've changed over to Newport Bay. Again, because we booked through Expedia, because we're annual pass holders, we had to cancel our hotel and then rebook. So it actually ended up costing us a lot more. But I wouldn't, if you've got a booking at Sequoia Lodge or Davy Crockett, I would ring them tomorrow morning. If you're listening to this, I wouldn't sit and wait like we were going to do, because I believe there are people who've booked for dates similar to ours, like the week before or the week after, and there's not been any rooms available at Newport Bay.
At the end of November, is that?
End of November, yeah.
I'm just saying, just so
they, well, we're going the 29th, and we know of someone who's going the 24th, who, when they rung up, Newport Bay had no rooms left. So they were told to either downgrade or upgrade at a cost, and they ended up downgrading. I also would never be worried about downgrading. In fact, we'd probably be happy with it. But because we knew that our friends could get this free upgrade, we thought they may as well.
Yeah, it's like going from something that's brilliant to good.
Yeah.
But not good to bad.
Exactly.
I've got a... You won't know the answer to this question, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. It's something maybe for us to look into. But we're booked to go in March next year, and we're staying at the Disneyland Hotel. Now, as it stands at the moment, the experience that we will get for our money is quite a bit different. Not the rooms, but when you think about like the character dining is a lot different. You know, there are certain restaurants that aren't open, and so what we're paying for, like me and Laura have talked about this quite a bit recently, and she was kind of saying, well, we've paid to be able to go and have these, we can go and have character meals every night, we can go to all these different places. Is it going to be the same when we go there, or are we wasting our money?
Is that because you're on the Premier Dining plan?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I know. So it's just that it's that question of if we're still planning on going to the Disneyland Hotel on a premium dining plan, are we still getting the value for money that we would have been getting if everything was open as normal? Now, I think probably for the most part we are, but it's just...
And I think March is at a distance where nobody knows the answer to that.
Exactly,
yet.
yeah. And interestingly, the other interesting thing is that we can see constantly that obviously people are moving their bookings and things. Laura's getting nervous, going, well, it's going to be really busy next March, but we're going on a Black Week anyway, so it would have been busy whatever. It's just that lots of people have moved their bookings across. Now, if they're allowing people to move their bookings that far in advance, are they doing that with current capacity? Are they doing that with future capacity? And what's going to happen? Who's going to get bumped? How's it going to work? It's
are they
quite
doing
an interesting
it with Sequoia and David Crockett open? Because, I mean, the number of rooms in those two combined. And then if they don't open those, they've got to shove them elsewhere.
Well, precisely.
It's tricky. Now, one thing I'll say for all these reasons is if you haven't already booked and you are booking afresh, it is a lot more expensive than I have ever known it before. There's no real offers on at the moment. I've done a few mock bookings to look at this, and it seems to give you a random amount. It will say something like, by booking hotel and tickets together, you have saved £230, but it doesn't tell you how you've saved it. You know, usually there's a 35% off offer, or there's a dining offer or whatever. There's no real offers on. It's coming up with prices I've never seen before. Even when we've tried to book through Expedia, the hotel rooms are coming up more expensive than they've come before. So if you are booking fresh, maybe you've had a Florida holiday cancelled and you think I'll go to Disneyland Paris instead. I would say, and I wouldn't normally say this, I would say off-site is beginning to look like a good option for your money, because on-site is as expensive as it's ever been, if not a lot more. Now, speaking of off-site, if you are not staying in a Disneyland hotel and you don't have a dated ticket, then you have to book your place at the park. It's not booking up quick with this limited capacity, and it's very easy to do, but just go onto the app and it'll say park reservation, and then you have to type in the number of your ticket or the number of your annual pass and reserve some days. But you need to remember that. And also, it might be worth, before you book, checking to make sure those park days are available. Because you don't want to book, you know, a travel lodge near Disneyland Paris and then not be able to go to Disneyland Paris.
No. You most certainly don't.
The last thing I've got, we just mentioned, is annual pass holders also need to do that reservation thing. But if you want to bring a friend, you now have to book your privilege tickets 14 days in advance, and you have to book them online. It used to be you could just take your friend to the gate and buy them in person, but they're not selling them in person at the moment because of capacity. So that's the last thing I've got that we need to know about booking. So travelling. What do we need to know about travelling?
Same stuff, really, for the most part. You know, apart from, I guess, the big things are, you know, airports. if you're going to fly, for instance, you're going to fly at the moment, everything that we do, public transport in general, everything we do is going to take more time because they've got to book people in, because we've got to make sure people don't have a temperature. You're going to have a mask to be able to travel. That's fine. Don't see particularly a big issue with that. But what happens once you get into the airport? Because, and I haven't looked into this massively, but I've heard people talking about having designated areas where they have to wait, that things aren't open when they're there, so you're literally in a waiting room, sat in a box, a marked out box, waiting to go. Then you get on your plane, and I think, in all honesty, I think the idea of flying, to me, sounds a lot like hell, and it's not something I particularly look forward to.
I wouldn't judge anyone who chooses to do it at the moment. I mean, needs musts, and there's many reasons why you might choose to fly, but for me, going to Disneyland Paris at the moment, I'd say that's off the table, and I'm looking at different options. I'm concerned about a lot of the smaller airlines going under. I mean, the 2 times we've flown to Disneyland Paris, we flew Flybe, which has gone now, and then the other ones we're looking at are like Jet2 and smaller regional ones. I'd be a bit concerned about booking with. I also think that they're limiting the flights, which days of the week they go, and airlines that used to do 2 or 3 a day are only doing 1 and stuff. So you've lost a bit of flexibility.
The speed and convenience of it, though, for me, still just pips it. Even with all these new travel restrictions you're having to be subjected to.
When you say speed, so my experience of going to an airport on a normal day, on a normal trip to an airport, is a 40-minute drive minimum to the airport, followed by half an hour to 40 minutes to actually get into the airport, followed by an hour and a half of bimbling around the airport, followed by sitting on a plane for 25 minutes waiting for it to taxi out, followed by waiting maybe another 10 minutes before you take off, then your flight, then you land and you have 20 minutes before you get off the plane, then you get off the plane and you go to wait for your baggage, and your bags can take anything up to 15 to 20 minutes to get out. Then you get out, then you find your connection, then you take your connection to wherever you're going. Doesn't sound like a time saver to me.
It's still a massive faff, but I think door to door we were like 5 hours tops last time we did it, and it's still so much quicker than anything else.
It is.
We could leave.
We're talking a full day of travelling in the car.
Yeah, we could leave comfortably mid-morning and then be there and in the parks mid-afternoon, which you can't do when you drive. Not from Leeds. You can't do when you drive.
That is very true. I guess, and I totally see the benefit of flying when you're going to somewhere like Spain or Italy or places beyond. And you're right, it does save you time to do it. I just hate airports. I just really hate them. I'd rather be in a car driving, personally. I am
totally with you, because it'll save you a couple of hours, but the frustration of waiting, it's doing nothing, it's waiting for this and waiting for that and jumping through that hoops and sitting still, and I'd rather feel like we were being propelled forward the whole time. That's me personally.
And now add to it the sterile atmosphere and everything else that comes with this current situation. I just can't think it's going to be nice. But as you say, on the plus side, it saves you a load of time. Airlines are being very cautious, and it does seem at the moment like there's a lot of opportunities when things get cancelled to at least move your tickets to somewhere else. Most cases you're getting refunds. I mean, Jet2 were brilliant with our holiday that got cancelled early this year. I know other people haven't had great experiences, particularly with package holidays from them, but with the flights itself, they were brilliant. They gave us notice, they offered us a voucher or a refund, and we took the refund, and it was with us within like 3 weeks.
So if we're not flying then, what are our other options, and are they all working?
Well, there's Eurostar. You can go on the Eurostar still. That's still working on all right.
You can, however, it no longer stops at Ashford or Ebbsfleet. So
you're reading my notes here.
Sorry, go on.
It's all right. It no longer stops at those places. But I have heard people saying that some people have been booking their tickets for St Pancras for the future, with the view that actually when it's stopping at those places again, I'm just going to get on there. Now, I'm not sure how easy that'll be, thinking about how passport control works on Eurostar, but it's quite interesting that some people that potentially you might be able to do that. Because I guess if you're on a normal train, you'd be able to do that, wouldn't you? You buy your ticket from Wakefield, but get on at Doncaster, for instance.
I wouldn't want to comment on it, really. I wouldn't want to.
It seems like a funny one to me.
It does.
But anyway, their situation is you have to wear a mask while you're on. That's fine again, and it's quick. So in that sense, it's all right.
That's my favourite way of going, if I'm honest. I know that a lot of people who go to Ashford and Ebbsfleet go there because of the car parking situation. So just a quick tip, and the car parking near St Pancras is like £1 billion a day. So our quick tip is we always use, I think it's just parkonmydrive.com or something like that, and we park on a drive near a tube station and then tube in.
Yeah, this is what we're looking at doing.
It's 15 quid for the week. It's perfect. Yeah. So that's my recommendation.
They're accredited with the is it get going or get set go or whatever it's called, this accreditation that says that they're COVID ready or whatever. Get ready, get set go or something. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called, but they've got that accreditation anyway.
Who are Eurostar? Or you drive with?
Eurostar. Good to go. That's what it is. No. Sorry, not Eurostar. I've skipped onto it's P&O. The P&O ferries are. They've got good ferries. To go accreditation. So if you're driving, that's what I was going to say.
From Calais?
From Dover.
From Dover, sorry, Dover to Calais. Because I don't think, when we've done ferries, we've always done overnight from Hull to Zeebrugge, and then driven from Zeebrugge, and I don't think they're going yet.
See, I haven't looked at that, but I did. My automatic was to look at what's happening on the shorter crossings down in Dover. So P&O running. So if you wanted to drive, you could do that. But then if you're going to drive down there, just get on the Eurotunnel, because it's just damn sight easier, isn't it? What was that like for you guys? Because you've done that, haven't you?
Yeah, you're not allowed to get out of your car anymore, not even to stretch your legs. I mean, there was nobody patrolling it.
Not even for a bab.
No, the toilets.
Take a potty.
There are rather grim toilets on the Eurotunnel.
They're always shut as well. They're always out of order.
Well, now they are officially shut, and it tells you several times to go before you get on. There are toilets as you're driving your car there. And then you just can't. So if you were caught short, you just have to poo in your car.
I would recommend, those tubs of mini rolls you can get from Marks and Spencer or Tesco.
Yeah,
or,
I know
there's like a plastic bucket with a sealable lid. If you go in there, then you can seal it off all nice.
Well, just to make it even better, I've got a Ford. You've got a Ford as well. Do you have one of those Shiwi things that if you need to put petrol in and you don't have the pump? It's like a little plastic tube that looks like a Shiwi that you can put into your petrol pump, so you can actually use that to direct yourself a little bit better as well.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Top tips.
Oh dear.
Or you could just cut off the top of a 2-litre bottle of a soft drink, and that'll make a nice funnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
same as the other one, insurance, everywhere seems to be being fairly flexible with things like fees to move. If you need to move to a different date or time, go in with an open mind, be realistic about the fact that things might not go entirely according to plan.
Book it, but totally expect that it's not going to happen. And then if you do go, what a lovely surprise.
Even more magic.
We've given up on rearranging Walt Disney World. Lucy's going to buy a new car instead.
Oh, it's so depressing. I kind of need a new car, but I'm not a car enthusiast. It's, as long as it's running in a straight line, I'll keep it. We just realised this Disney World holiday isn't happening. Right, I've got all that money in the savings account. Buy a car instead.
We'll wait a year.
Yeah. Right, Hugh, how is packing different in 2020?
Oh, well, guys, it's a lot more fun now, let me tell you. What we're talking, right, well, first of all, you're going to need a bunch of masks. And it depends how you want to treat it, really, because masks just became like another part of the costume for us, and if anything, it just added an extra element of fun to it. You might just want to take... like most people we saw were wearing the sort of green-blue surgical masks. But if you have the resources, you can make your own, which we did. Themed them to each land. Had a tropical one for Adventureland. Had skeletons for Frontierland to go on Phantom Manor. I had anchors for Adventureland as well. You know...
You want to go check out the vlogs. If you haven't done already, check out Lucy and Hugh's vlogs on the 37 Disney Street YouTube, whatever it is, channel, because it made me feel a lot more happy about the idea of wearing a mask watching you guys doing that, honestly and truthfully.
It was one of the things I was worried about going to, when we were potentially going to Florida in August. I was like, God, I can't imagine, is the mask thing going to be the thing that like makes us not go? But having been on a hot day in Paris, I think, you know, it would have been bearable. It would have been, you know, amazing, but it would have been bearable.
Yeah.
I have said this before, but neck gaiters, even with ear holes, are not allowed anymore, so forget those.
Although you did get away with it for like 75% of your trip.
Yeah, I did. To be honest, while I don't recommend it, you could probably wear a neck gaiter and pretty much no one's going to stop you, apart from one random cast member in Discoveryland at the train platform.
Who was listening when they got the briefing about it?
Yeah.
I bet he's a SWAT. I bet he's a SWAT.
It was a she, Chris.
I just think.
Oh, was she? I thought he'd said it was a he. Oh.
No. I just think no one could be bothered. Hand sanitizer. Do you know what though? I've made a note of hand sanitizer, and it's good to have that in general at the moment. But you don't need any in the park. They're everywhere.
Not in Disneyland. I'm thinking of this as general leaving the house, travelling kind of thing, because we've been away this weekend. We've done it every 15 minutes, it seems like.
Yeah.
But in Disneyland, you can't spit without hitting some hand sanitizer. I wouldn't recommend spitting when there's a global pandemic.
Don't spit on the hand sanitizer.
No,
You'd probably get taken out.
Or don't spit on your hand and then use that as hand sanitizer either.
I just called it hanitizer.
We should start calling it hanitizer.
It's quicker.
Yeah.
Laura put some hand sanitizer on Lucas's hand the other day, and he wasn't paying attention and thought it was food, so he put it in his mouth.
Oh, no.
Also, he calls it salitizer. I think I've told you this
Does
before.
your wife put food...
He calls it Sally.
Does your wife put food directly into your son's palm often?
Yeah, like
liquid food, like yogurt.
Like a sweet or something.
Squeeze in yogurt every now and again. We also sometimes take straws. We don't often use them, but we've got metal straws, reusable straws that we take. But that's good for just slipping under your mask for a sneaky little drink now and then.
I'd say cutlery as well, because they've started using disposable cutlery at places where they wouldn't use...
Actually, the straw thing, Bonnie had a slushy type thing from that Café Le Brousse. Is that what it's called? Anyway,
yeah,
that one in Discoveryland. And she went through 2 paper straws and they just disintegrated.
Yeah.
And, you know, for us, we could just say, we'll just won't use a straw then. But a child with a slushy is going to want a straw. So actually, thinking back, a reusable straw is, you know, I'd definitely recommend it.
Don't do what we did though. We bought glass ones, which means I can't really take them out of the house because it's a bit too much of a risk.
Because what?
Glass straws.
Yeah, you won't want one in your pocket and then sit down.
I've got very pretty glass straws, but they are glass, which isn't ideal. You can get those little. Well, I suppose they're still plastic, but you can get ones that like fold up into your keyring, can't they? Straws.
Yeah.
Well, ours are like metal, but they come in a little kit and they come with a little brush and you can clean them out.
Yeah.
And I would
Sounds
just recommend
perfect.
them in general, and maybe reusable cutlery, just because the thing is,
there's been a
are
few
you allowed
times...
to get searched for a knife if you're carrying a knife around with you?
Yeah, it depends on the type of knife, doesn't it? If it's like you can buy like kids cutlery, which we got some lovely kids cutlery from Asda, and I bought them just because even though we didn't need any because we already had some, I liked the colours, so I bought some more. and we take them everywhere for picnics and things. And they're sort of like kids' cutlery, but
chunky plastic.
They're like a mid-size, aren't they? Maybe they're just for picnics and things, but they're just handy to have. And you're not going to get stopped for a plastic knife, are you?
Well, we have plastic cutlery that we take when we have picnics, if we go out for the day and stuff. So, yeah, maybe we should take it to Disney. It's an interesting idea.
I think, and actually, a couple of times we have been caught out in Disneyland needing some kind of cutlery. Like Bonnie had some birthday cake. Then when we went to Inventions, and we had nothing to eat it with, so I could have just asked, but I snuck in to the hotel restaurant. What was that restaurant? No, the Circus Hotel one.
Oh yeah.
And I actually waited until the person at the little podium at the start. Someone asked them a question, and they turned their back. So I snuck in through the exit, and then went back up to the hotel with some spoons.
It sounds like Ocean's 11 degree of
well, no, it was like you know that bit in Groundhog Day when he's like, dog bark, car goes past.
Yeah.
It was like that, and I just waltzed in and then snuck out. I wasn't stealing them, I was borrowing them. I could have just asked, no one cared, but it just you know what, I couldn't be bothered, so that's why I did it in a sneaky way.
Also, anyway, it makes it more fun.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. This is a negative one. Like literally, it's a negative. Not cash. So pack not cash. I got some extra euros. Like Lucy said, you won't need euros, and I said, yeah, but for emergencies, it's good to have some. So I took 50 euros.
You talked about it on the show actually that you were going to bring some. Whether or not you should bring some euros.
Was it 50 euros? Well, in fact, actually, because post offices, everything's moving a bit slower these days. They only had 50 euros. It was all they had in the entire post office.
And it was a note, 150
so Lucy
euro
got
note.
the 150 euro note. So I took that with me.
Margaret, have we got any euros?
Honestly, it was like that, Chris. And this was like a main town branch as well. I know, I think
we've got yen.
Did that currency delivery come? I don't think the currency delivery came yesterday, did it? Oh no, we won't have any euros. Hang on. I think we've got some euros.
I've got a 50 in my pocket. Shall I just cash it in?
When I got home, having not touched this 50 euro note, I found 60 euros in my bedside drawer. So now I've got 110 euros.
We're flush with euros.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's like the porridge pot.
I'm not Mr. Moneybags, but I've got 110 euros knocking about. So if you need any euros, Chris, just pop to the other side of the house and I'll let you have some.
Can I just
do you know
say
what? We
the
don't need
reason
euros because we brought an awful lot of euros back with us in January for the same reason, that apart from buying coffee, you didn't really need to use them for anything.
No.
And they're really pushing you towards cashless and contactless.
Have they got contactless on all the kiosks and stuff now as well?
Yeah. Well, see, my worry was you can only use contactless a certain number of times, and then you have to start using your key. You have to put it in.
Yeah, you have to
use the keypad, and that kind of like gives you like a whole new bunch of contactless uses, doesn't it? Like a few more goes before it's like
a computer game, isn't it?
It denies you. But also, so I took my debit card, and don't forget to inform your bank you go in. Which I always do. I don't know if you ever do that, Chris, but I go on HSBC, I log in. It takes me ages to find it every time, but I eventually find the thing that says, let us know you're travelling, and I give them the dates, so they know that if I use it abroad. But the other thing I take is a Revolut card, load that up with some money, change it to francs, euros. And,
I'm going to say, are you time travelling?
So, I used to take 3 lots of money with me. I tend to only really use the Revolut card, occasionally my debit card, and then euros that I don't use anymore.
The Revolut card's one that people talk about a lot, and both times we've been, we've said, oh, should we get one of those, and then not done. But we might well do next time.
I highly recommend it.
It's handy.
Yeah.
Good. So not cash, that would be a recommendation. And because the toll, I always get a bit panicky on the toll booth bit on the French motorway, but just card it there as well. It's easy.
Yeah, we did when we went last time.
I've only got one more thing, and that's consider taking a hygiene key. You know a hygiene key?
No.
Looks like this. I've got one in my wallet.
It looks like a comedy-sized key.
Okay.
It's like have you not seen this?
No.
It's like a metal key, or you can get them in plastic, and the deal is...
Are you going to tweet it?
I will do. I'll do hashtag 37 Disney Street key. I won't do hygiene because it's easy to misspell that. Hashtag 37 Disney Street key, and you can see the hygiene key. It's basically a hook, so you use it for door handles and things. I use this mostly for the fridges in supermarkets.
That's brilliant.
But also the end... Oh, actually, the thing that I probably use it most of all is for tapping in on keypads. So when I use my
elevator buttons,
things like that. Yeah. So they're handy to have.
Flushing toilets.
What I will say is, in the actual park, I didn't need to use it once because there aren't many door handles in Disneyland.
No. I could have done with that today when I went over to see the boys at the park, because there's a gate to get in to the park and then the gate to get into the playground. And I kicked the first door open because it was an in-door, an in-gate. But when I got to the next, and I thought, I was feeling quite smart about it. I thought, yes, good, I haven't had to touch anything. Then I got to the next one, and it was a pull. So I had to pull it open. And then obviously I had the opposite problem on the way out, so it would have come in handy.
Those foot ones they've introduced in certain places where you can just put your foot on it and pull it towards you.
That sounds good.
Do you know, this is all good stuff that we should keep forever afterwards.
Agreed. Yeah. So, staying. I must point out that Hugh and I didn't stay in a Disney hotel last time, but there's general staying in hotels that we've realised. Check-in will be socially distanced and quick. There's none of this, sharing pens and filling stuff like that out. They seem to be doing a lot of it. Verbally, they want you to fill forms out in advance, online, etc. When you get to a room, remote controls are all in plastic bags. We needed some extra bedding sending at the hotel we were at last night. Again, not Disney hotels, this is general. And they just left it outside our room, didn't they? They knocked and ran like it was Halloween.
Well, no, it was the opposite. She tried to come in and I sent her away.
Chris has just ordered some hygiene keys.
He's holding up his phone and showing us...
so that took you all of 45 seconds, Chris.
Showing us his PayPal details.
Yes.
So with the Disney hotels, they don't have the meet and greets in the lobby in the morning anymore. However... the news we've got from Cheyenne this week that they're doing them outside, that they're doing roaming characters and they're having them late at night. Yeah, that's a nice touch, because especially as the park is closing at 8 at the moment, it is nice to keep that magic going a little longer, isn't it? Because there's no fast passes in the park. Things like Compass Club and Golden Forest Club, etc. Your concierge level is going to be a little different. I would contact the hotel in advance if I was you and find out what that would involve, because I can't imagine communal coffee pots will be happening either. However, I do know they're still selling concierge level, so it'll be interesting to know what perks they're offering, because presumably they can't offer car valet.
I wouldn't have thought so, no.
What else do you get, Chris? Fast passes are out, car valet's out.
They give you a tender kiss on your way in as well, which is no longer on the lips, which is no longer allowed.
Luggage service.
Yeah, the lounge. No lounge.
Perhaps the lounge is still available.
I don't know. It wasn't before, was it? I'm sure that was one of the things that you said when it first opened up. Wasn't there?
I've had no reason to research this, listeners, and it's only just occurred to me. So if you have booked it, I would check that now, because if it was me, I'd be wanting to know I was getting what I was paid for, or I was getting compensated personally.
Because otherwise, all you're getting is a slightly nicer decorated room
on a slightly higher floor, isn't it, or something?
And a quieter floor, I guess, as well. But yeah,
it wouldn't be worth what you pay for me, because there are usually quite a lot of perks, aren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, something to think about. The dining in the hotels, I know we're coming on to dining next, but the dining in the hotels, a lot of them Santa Fe, Cheyenne are buffets. There's also a buffet at Newport Bay, isn't there? But there's a table service as well.
Yeah, with both, yeah.
All the buffets have gone to these small plate options, and the breakfast is kind of table service, because they come over and say, do you want how many rashers of bacon do you want, how many croissants do you want, as opposed to having small plates. Now again, we can't speak to Disney hotels, but we stayed at a hotel last night that had a table service breakfast that used to be a buffet breakfast, and it was quite slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't seem like they quite gotten used to the changes.
And of course you've got...
Because, they've been doing something for months or years a certain way, and, all of a sudden they have to start again, basically, so it was quite slow.
Yeah.
And you've got what would have been just plates and plates full of scrambled eggs are now being cooked to order, and you've got waitresses that taking orders that they're just not set up for it. So I'd love some feedback from Disney Hotel. This isn't a Disney Hotel I'm talking about, by the way.
No.
But I'd love to know how it's working there. But, I mean, it's what we've got to do at the moment. We've all got to accept this, and I'm not going to sit here and get in a huff because it took 5 minutes longer to get my bacon and eggs than it normally would, one of those things.
I'm just putting some, a fancy wiggly border on my picture of the hygiene key. So I really do recommend you get on Twitter and look at the hygiene key picture.
It's a work of art. Other than that, there's going to be very, very few changes. The new security arrangements at the hub aren't really going to affect you because you're going to do security at the top of the village. Mm-hmm. So enjoy yourselves. That's all I've got to say about staying. Now, dining, Hugh, is that me or you?
Hashtag 37 Disney Street key.
We've lost him to the key.
He's somewhat in his little Instagram world.
What are we talking about?
Dining.
Well, I could introduce it, but I have nothing written down.
Okay, introduce it then.
Dining.
Okay. We would highly recommend, if you want to go to a table service restaurant, booking, because they've got limited capacity. Having said that, on our recent visit, we thought we might fancy Captain Jack's. And we walked up and said, do you have space for us? And they went in, had a discussion, and they said, yes, we do. Now, as it was, we looked at the menu and we were a little worried there was nothing for the fussy eaters in our family. So we didn't. But it wasn't possible to get a walk-up.
Yeah.
This is different for 2020. In theory, you can now book your restaurants online. However, difficulty has been had, and people find that going to the Belgian website is easier, and the UK one's still not working. We will keep you abreast of that situation because it's...
Is our page still up to date?
No, I need to check that as well, because I think that they've now introduced a new online booking system that's official, whereas our page was a bit of a hack. So I think ours is out. But when I tried it a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't do it on the British page, and I had to go through the Belgian page and then use my rudimentary French.
Does it still only allow you to book a certain number? Is it 90 days? 60 days?
60 days. 60 days in advance for booking. There's no character dining at the moment. I think that they'll find a way of bringing that back in some guise or another. They've very slowly been adding to their experiences over the last 3 weeks anyway. I think that may come back, but at the moment there's no character dining, and buffets are small tapas size plates of what would normally have been on the buffet, and it's like table service. You just order as much of whatever you want, and it is unlimited. They've taken unlimited drinks off the menu. That was on our news last week. Just if you need to budget for that. I know they're tight.
What are the unlimited drinks? See, every time I've ever eaten anywhere you get one drink and that was it, and that's what I used to have, my one drink.
I think in theory you could have kept asking for more drinks, or if it was a refill station you could have done...
Well, they never made that clear anyway, so I never took advantage of it.
Yeah, they tend not to. One moment while I have some of my own unlimited drink.
Do we fill the space, or do we just all enjoy that sound?
You just listen to the slurping. Right, slurp done.
I'm
just scratching my forehead.
So I belched earlier, and it might have come over on the mic. It wasn't a belch; it was, just a fizzy drink,
a gurgle,
regurgitation.
Right.
In our experiences last week, whenever it was, 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago at the park, the quick service queues were very short and manageable, even at the busiest time of day, that's usually what's put us off quick service, which is why we usually tend to have our lunch at like 2:30 in the afternoon or something to avoid this.
Or 11:30 in the morning. Is a good time before it gets busy.
Those kind of times. But this is the one time I might say, do you know what, guys? Skip your table service and explore some quick service venues, because I think you could quite easily and happily and with very little stress go to some different quick service venues you've never been to. Colonel Hathis is gorgeous, Hakuna Matata is gorgeous, without having to sacrifice, ages sort of queuing in a boring, hot, smelly queue.
See, what you're talking about here feeds right into what I was saying before about the premium dining plan. There's no character meals. So you're going to want to go premium dine. If they're all booked, then you've got the buffets. If you don't want to have to do all that waiting, you're on the quick service. Well, if you're going to have quick service on a premium meal, it's a bit of a waste, isn't it?
I think that was part of the reason, well, if not the only reason, for upping the price of Lucky Nugget and making it the meal they've made it, was because they'd axed all the premium dining and they needed one. They needed another premium dining experience. And they are encouraging outside seating, and inside there is limited seating. At Hakuna Matata, that's what we liked so much, wasn't it? The limited seating inside. But they're encouraging outside seating, which is also lovely. Also really lovely. And there seem to be some more substantial options at your outside kiosks as opposed to just ice cream cones. There was more waffles and croque monsieurs and crepes and things. Yeah,
the stand where I normally get a pineapple whip float or a mango whip, it seemed to be totally replaced now with like a crepe stand and a hot drink stand, but more snacky type of thing.
So
to encourage people to eat and walk.
Yeah.
No, they're not encouraging you to eat and walk. Have you seen this? Because people were
using it as an excuse to take the mask off, basically.
Yeah, basically the rule was that you can take your mask off if you're eating or drinking.
This
but
is
then what?
Florida.
I think it's more in Florida, but it's become a blanket Disney rule. People were walking around with a bottle of water in the hand with the mask off, and the argument would be, well, I'm drinking. No, you're not. Oh. So now they've said you have to be stationary.
Just being an ass.
They haven't said you have to be sat down. They say you have to be stationary and socially distanced.
I need to take in a lot of liquids over
to eat
for a long
drink.
period of time, so I need to take my mask off, sir.
So, if you just find a nice bit of wall and you lean against a wall, I think that's okay, as long as you're socially distanced to take your mask off. So what this all boils down to with your dining is, in the past, I would have been a big advocate of plan ahead, book all your restaurants, know where you want to go. And if you don't want to book posh restaurants, plan when you dine. I would now say, don't bother, do quick service, dine when you want, because it's a lot easier, in my opinion.
While it's quiet.
And, while other... I just think at the moment, if you're going to go and you want to experience these quick service things, now's the time to do it. We've never been to Casey's. We did it this time because it was quiet and lovely.
Yeah.
But also, I think you've got to keep your ear to the ground. Depends on when you're going. Depends on what meal plan you've got as well. But keep an eye out for what's happening, because things are going to change in the parks all the time. You know, things have changed. You said right at the start of the show, the things that are open now that weren't there when you guys went just 2 weeks ago. It's going to continue to change and grow and adapt.
And I think the first increase in capacity will bring a lot of changes. The first time they start to ramp that up, but they have said that's not till September at the earliest.
Yeah.
If anyone's going soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last subject I think we're all going to kind of do together. I've called this touring, but this is the rest of what you do in the parks, how you plan your day, what rides you go on, and how that's changed.
When you asked us about this, I thought you were talking about caravan pictures and stuff, because that to me, that's what touring is. So
I think this comes from a lot of sort of guidebooks and stuff will give you touring plans. You know, that is a category. What's your touring plan? And that means what order you can do things in. So the first thing I'm going to throw out there is early magic hours are still available to hotel guests and annual pass holders. However,
hooray.
This is one change from my advice. I would used to be there at 5 to 8, be at the gates at 5 to 8, be the first one through the gates. I don't personally think you need to at the moment with the low capacity. What would you say, Hugh?
Not at all.
No. We went at the second day, we got to studios at 10.
Yeah.
And we're bored by 11.
Well, it would be unthinkable of us to go that late.
Yeah.
Hang on. It would be unthinkable for us to go that late. Do you know, when I've got a headphone in, it's more complicated to talk nice, proper.
Talk really like.
So, but because it was a much more relaxed environment, we didn't feel like there was as much pressure. And also, you can hit loads of rides in 5-minute bursts. You can do so much in a day at the moment.
If you've been to Disney before and done early magic hours, I would say that all day feels like early magic hours. Those are the kind of crowds you're looking at, aren't they, Huey?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're an early riser, absolutely fine. You get to be in there with probably nobody. I don't know. We weren't there that early. But I wouldn't say it's a necessity to get the most out of your day.
Bare necessity.
There's no fast passes. Again, it doesn't really matter at this stage.
How long did you queue for Peter Pan's flight again?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
And
15 minutes.
That was one of the longest.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. And the only ones we struggled with...
And that was like in the afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So even early magic hours when we were there before, every single day, by the time we got through and down there, it was already up to 40 minutes.
I think with Peter Pan, it's just that, like, you know, toilet paper crisis thing. It's the minute people think it's... the minute people think other people are going to be rushing to it, suddenly it becomes desirable and you want to do it. Because, like, Peter Pan, it's fine, but it's just as good as all the other dark rides. I don't know why on earth that one is so popular. Like, why is that such a big deal? And I think it's just because, by chance, it happened to become popular, a bit more popular than the other ones, maybe. And now that's just led it to be even more so, because people are thinking, oh, we've got to get there before everybody else.
Yeah.
The longest wait for most of the time in the main park, in the Disneyland park, was the Haunted Mansion, and that seemed to level off at about 20 minutes. And I think that will stay at 20 to 25 minutes because they have massively reduced their capacity, whereas other rides haven't.
In the morning, Hollywood Studios, the rides were, you know...
Oh, yeah, you said that.
Normal. It was 45 minutes, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, but apparently later in the day, they went down to 5, much to my chagrin, so...
I don't think Crush ever did. I think Crush stayed at a very long time.
Right.
So this
I think I've said before, though, I think Tower of Terror... I don't think they open all of the lifts, do they, to start off with? So they must wait until it gets to a certain busyness before they open the others up. So it's probably just a case of not having the staff there to do it or something at that point in time.
This kind of plays into the next thing I've got written down, is that
cast members, sorry,
because there's so many low waits, the very few rides that have got predictably long waits, in the Disneyland Park, the only one I could think of was Phantom Manor, but in the studios, you've got 2 meet and greets, one in Mickey and the Magician and one in Marvel that both had quite long waits.
Yeah.
Crush had a long wait. The Tower of Terror I'm not sure about, because I think that went down to like 5 minutes later on. So I don't know if something had happened, or like you said, it was to do with the lifts.
AC was saying it was 60, Parachutes was 25, but even 25 minutes after the day we had before, I thought, I can't be bothered with that. 25 minutes would normally be nothing.
This sounds very... Maybe we shouldn't have gone at 10 a.m. Maybe a lot of people did what we did and went for Line Bertie in the morning. Oh, that brings me on to the other thing. Line Bertie is still a thing.
Oh, here we go.
You said you weren't going to talk about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about it at length. I'm going to just say, because we're giving advice for touring, if you want to meet Anna and Elsa...
Forget it.
You've got to do the Line Bertie thing. What else was announced this week that it was going to be on Line Bertie? We did it on our news last week. Can you remember?
There's Marvel characters, isn't there?
I don't think they're on Line Bertie.
It was the show, the Marvel show.
Yes.
In the old Cars.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Stunt show.
No, the Jungle Book show is going to be where the Cars show was, and that's going to be Line Bertie.
Yeah.
Right, it's just this is just, you're going to have to shake hands with the devil on this one, guys. If you want to do any of those things, you're going to have to deal with Line Bertie. I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying it's something you have to do.
Download the app.
Download the app, and best of luck to you.
Is it an app? It's not part of the...
No, it's an app.
Separate app. It's a separate app, not part of the Disneyland Paris Show.
Of course, it's a separate one.
That's the thing. And the last thing... now I've got 2 more things written down.
Take up with that.
One is there's no parades or fireworks to plan around. So that's great. It's a bit of a... The one thing used to be, while it's quiet, while everyone else is watching the parade go on Big Thunder Mountain. But it's quiet anyway. So...
But here's a serious question for you then.
Yes.
If you would normally go for 5 days, do you still need 5 days?
Oh, good
Honestly,
question.
I would say you don't need 5 days. Having said that, I could spend 5 days there quite happily.
Well, look, it's August now. It's August 2020. I think for at least another couple of months it's going to remain about the same capacity, isn't it? As it goes up, I don't, maybe, but at the moment 3 days would be plenty, wouldn't it?
It would.
We went for 1.5 and we did everything.
I was honestly thinking, because I just thought it'd be a cool vlog idea to try do the, I can't remember how many it is now, 40 attraction challenge or something, but basically try and do every attraction in one day at the moment. And I honestly think at the moment it would be too easy to do that. If you were to do it as a challenge, obviously we didn't do every attraction this time, we were bimbling a bit. But if you were to push yourself, you could do every single thing in one day. I think if you were a family taking it at a leisurely pace, you could do everything in 3 days, and you could do the things you enjoyed 12 times. So I probably don't.
The distractions aren't there at the moment, are they? And I don't mean that in that they're not good, but things like the parades and stuff are things that you'll... If you've planned to go and watch it, then you're going to spend time there. But if you happen to be walking past when it's on, you'll quite often stop and have a look and waste 10 or 15 minutes just on whatever happens to be going on around you. And those kind of distractions are not there at the moment. Yeah, and
shows on the castle stage and things like that, you get there, if you want to go see it, you get there 15 minutes in advance, then you stand still and guard your space for 15 minutes, and then you watch a half-hour show, and before you know it, that's an hour that's gone. Yeah. Those kind of things aren't there. And these cavalcades look fantastic. So don't feel like you're missing out, because the cavalcades are there, but you're not committing time to them. They go past you. And you go,
Did you still feel like you had a leisurely time when you were there?
Now, this is the last thing I've got written down. You've brought me beautifully to the end of our show, Chris, is I've said plan for downtime. And I normally wouldn't say that, but... we really felt like we could stop, sit down on a table and chairs because they were free. There was nobody sitting on them. Take our masks off and people watch for 20 minutes and not feel like we'd we're wasting time or wasting our day. And I would say be prepared for that to happen and enjoy it. Value that. Because that's what I've missed at Disney in the past, is being able to spend time doing that.
There's a couple of things I want to add, actually. We're not necessarily recommending you go at the moment. Maybe we should make that clear. Because, with everything that's going on, we have been. There is certain risk involved, but we thought, of all places to go, that's if you're going to go somewhere, that's a pretty safe place to go because of all the regulations they have to put in place. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh, it's quiet, go," because that that's not our job to be recommending things like that at this time. But if you are going, if you do decide to go, that's on you. But a lot of these restrictions that are in place, for me, have made it so much better. No one breathing down your neck in queues, no crowds of parades and things, quick onto rides, quick service in restaurants. I was just happy with I was a lot happier there than normal. So it can be enjoyable.
Now
that's nice.
You've just brought me on to something I perhaps should have mentioned at the beginning, Chris, when you were talking about booking, etc. In that I had a very lovely message from a listener. Where is she? Helen. Hello, Helen. Who was saying she enjoyed the show, enjoyed the trip reports, etc. Which says we're booked to go next week, but what's just happened with Spain? Because if you're keeping your eye on the news, last week, out of pure thin air, they put a quarantine on people returning from Spain, and they said affected midnight. Did they announce it on Saturday and say from Sunday morning?
Yeah, I mean, it was out of thin air, but it wasn't, because there'd been a lot of talk about it for a couple of days, and it was likely that thin air was possibly going to happen.
Thick with corona.
It was because there was a spike, and you're right, politically it had been discussed, so it wasn't thin air, but the point was that to people who were actually in Spain, it may as well have been out of thin air, because
and that's what I mean about being realistic about things can change at any minute.
Let's just be clear as well, it's not Spike, the lovable Disney bee, as found in the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival. It's a spike in cases.
Yes. So Helen was saying that she was worried about being in France and being stuck there. Well, I just want to back up what Hugh said, what Chris has said. For all this advice, and we're telling you how wonderful and lovely it is, how the magic's still there and it's fantastic, it is a very real possibility at the moment that you could go to a foreign country, and whilst you're in that foreign country, the British government could put restrictions on that country. I haven't looked at France's data recently, and I do tend to look at this corona data quite often. I don't know if they're on the upward slant or not, but I would always keep a very close eye on that kind of situation.
Just be prepared for things to change, definitely.
And this is another reason I would recommend going via the tunnel in your own vehicle, because Jet2 are currently telling everyone in Spain they have to get on a flight within the next 4 days or stay there. Whereas if you're in your own car...
What about people who are coming back to Leicester from Spain? It'd end up like...
Hey, no, it's Kirklees now. It's us who are in lockdown now.
It'd end up like The Terminal with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Got no country.
As far as Disneyland Paris is concerned, make sure you've read the small print, be prepared for sudden changes, keep your eye on the news. I will say, the UK government has been a little bit weirder about France, haven't they? Like, right at the beginning, they didn't close that border, and they opened that border. I think there's a bit of a symbiotic relationship going on, mainly because of the tunnels and the trade. Well, it's the trade routes.
Sexy.
I think it's because so many lorries come through those tunnels that they're keeping them open. Anyway.
Filth. Right.
Shall we wrap this up? Has anybody anything they want to add?
Yes, we got back 2 weeks ago, and no one has any illnesses. Well, I think I've got some kind of maybe pollen-based chesty thing, which was worrying me a few days ago, but because it's not developed into anything, I think it's safe to say we've come back from Paris just fine. And now I can tell people from work that I've been, because I was waiting for the 2 weeks to be up.
Yeah. We're all gravy.
I'd just like to say that at some point, when we've got a moment, I'd quite like for us to discuss this UK Disneyland that's going to be built in Kent. I think it's quite interesting. I think that'd be worth a bit of a look in. Half an episode, like not a full episode, because it's not Disney, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think we can talk about it in comparison, can't we, to Disneyland and what it might mean for Disneyland. I think it's
worth a discussion.
It's relevant.
Yes.
So next week we will have an itty bitty news show. They haven't been too itty bitty recently, have they?
We're not even calling them that anymore, are we?
No, we just decided to change it this week.
Yeah.
Oh, did we?
It looks like they've never been called it anymore now. When you go back and look at the titles on
the news show.
So we just do a roundup of the week's headlines, and then the week after that will be our main discussion show. And have we decided on a topic for that yet?
Can we rank the attractions, like the walkthrough attractions? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yes, because we did
I
the
really
dark
liked
rides.
doing the rides last time. Yeah.
Yeah, we ranked the dark rides. Unless something important crops up, listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Next episode, it sounds like we're going to be ranking the walkthrough attractions, which are some of my favourite attractions in Disneyland Paris, may I add.
Shabba ranks.
Excellent. So, keep your eye on the sky. Keep your eye on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where we currently live. You can find us 37 Disney Street, the Disneyland Paris Show. Thank you very much. Good night.
See you later.
Bonne nuit, children.